From Greece to Norway, from Spain to England, hiking is hip. Hiking is young, hiking is green and healthy, and you can only get up close when you're on foot, everywhere in Europe.
Sometimes it's hard to match the topography to the map because there's so many small hills and ups and downs. But the way is so clearly marked that it's I have to try really hard to get lost here. So I think I'm going that way.
Bradley Mayhew is a Brit living in the United States. He writes travel and trekking guides. Usually he's in faraway Asia. Now he's exploring the most beautiful hiking trails of Europe. Le Puy-en-Velay in Auvergne is the starting point for a trail that follows the steps of Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of the classic novels Treasure Island and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Bradley Mayhew is in the old town of Le Puy. He's meeting a French woman called Laura Léoton.
How are you? Oh, more than one.
It's 3 times here.
Okay.
Yes. Welcome to Le Puy.
Thank you very much. What a beautiful town you have.
Yeah, I'm very happy to meet you here.
Thank you.
In my hometown. Yes.
It's good to be here. I'm looking forward to going walking.
Yeah,
I'm already.
Perfect. I'm too.
Okay.
Let's go.
Time for it.
Laura works for the Stevenson Association, a foundation that tends an historic pathway. At the end of the 19th century, the Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson spent 2 weeks hiking in the mountains of the Massif Central. His tale of the journey is entitled Travels with a Donkey in the Cevennes.
Yeah, Stevenson is best known for his adventure stories, but he was also a great traveller. Not so many people know that. Apart from this journey that he did, he travelled all the way across America and travelled by boat a lot in the Pacific and the South Seas, lived there for a large part of his life. And this trip of his here in France is kind of in many ways the very first outdoor example of literature. He defined outdoor literature. The camping, hiking, trekking, these were not things that people did that much in his days, and certainly didn't write about it afterwards.
I did the trail first. I didn't want the book to influence me, and I told myself it's better to read it afterwards. It was nice. While reading, I re-experienced the landscapes, villages and people.
The Stevenson Trail traverses the Massif Central in southern France. The trail's official name is Long Distance Footpath number 70. It's 220 kilometers long. Beginning in the volcanic landscape of the Vélay area, it leads along the mountains of Lozère and ends in the town of Saint-Jean-du-Gard in Cevennes. It's about 20 kilometers from Le Puy to the village of Le Monastier-sur-Gazeille. Aged 28, Stevenson's travelogue began here in Le Monastier. And officially, so does the Stevenson Trail of today. Le Monastier arose around Saint-Chaffre, the oldest abbey church of France. It dates back to the 7th century. In 1878, Stevenson prepared for his journey here in Le Monastier. The scion of a dynasty of engineers, he began writing as a child. He studied law and travelled extensively.
Stevenson had a strange collection of items for his trip. The first thing was a revolver, which his wife said was more of a danger to him than to anyone else. And then he had some pots and pans, he had books, he had a spare change of warm clothes. He had an egg whisk, which was a strange choice. He got rid of that on the very first day. And he didn't have any of this modern gear. He didn't have a map, a guidebook, no Gore-Tex. He didn't have a proper torch. He was very much a trailblazer of camping and hiking in this part of the world.
Stevenson planned for a 12-day journey. In this village, he bought all his provisions, which included a huge sleeping bag, a leg of lamb and red wine. Laura, however, only wants to get some sausage and cheese to get them underway. The specialty of the region is fromage de l'Artisou, a mite cheese made from unpasteurized milk. It comes from a town close to the Stevenson Trail. Laura likes it and also takes a piece of Vélay, another local cheese.
The mite cheese, with tiny creatures in the crust, is a typical product from here. Old, ancient products, which you can still try out today, and that Stevenson also ate.
To carry all his luggage, Robert Louis Stevenson bought a travel companion. Her name was Modestine, the modest one. Christian Brochier has been renting out donkeys for 30 years. For Bradley, he selected Macumber.
Not sure, is she? Not quite sure. Do I want to do this? And does she speak any English?
Yes, sure. English, German, French, Italian.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, he's a clever donkey. Oh, hold on. Not yet. We're not ready yet. Everyone in the village trying to help him choose a donkey, haggling the price down. It was half the village was there watching him doing it. He spent 65 francs and a glass of brandy. That was the cost of his donkey, which was actually cheaper than his sleeping bag. So it was quite a bargain.
Okay. Do that 3 times.
3 times, okay.
And then it gives the leg, you know?
You can't just get up and go with a donkey. You have to know how to handle it. And this includes doing some grooming and care.
And I should do this like every morning and every
Every
evening?
morning.
Or?
Every morning.
Okay.
Every morning, on the way, if you see the donkey don't walk well, you look to see if there is a problem. Okay, 2 legs more.
Halfway, eh?
More close to the donkey,
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that good?
That's good. Les ânes peuvent partir avec n'importe qui. Tellement ils sont
Donkeys
calmes,
can go with
pacibles,
anyone. They're so quiet
très
and patient,
indépendants aussi.
and very
Tandis que
independent.
les chevaux,
They say you train
progressent,
horses,
mais que
but
les
you
ânes
raise
s'éduquent.
donkeys.
Parce que pour
To do so, you have to negotiate with it. A donkey has a strong personality. You have to make compromises with it.
Et c'est une négociation, c'est un compromis qui s'établit.
Stevenson set off from Le Monastier in the autumn of 1878. Nowadays, hikers, especially families with children, rent a donkey for the long trek. Macumber has already done the trail 24 times. According to Stevenson, his donkey, Modestine, was not much bigger than a dog, the colour of a mouse, with a kindly eye and a determined underjaw. Initially, however, the author of Treasure Island had some difficulties with his pack animal. Modestine refused to obey him and walked in slow motion.
I think the first day Stevenson had with his donkey was incredibly frustrating for him. He spent the first 4 hours trying to get it loaded up. He kept slipping over. Everyone was laughing at him. Eventually he set off, and I think he just spent twice as much effort trying to get it to move as he would have done if he just walked and carried it himself.
The first leg of the Stevenson Trail descends into the valley of the young Loire. The upper reaches of the river are lined with hamlets, above which the ruins of medieval castles tower. Château de Beaufort, destroyed during the French Revolution, looks down upon the village of Goudet. Laura and Bradley spent the night here, and now, the next morning, before they can continue, Macumber needs to be brushed and groomed.
I think there were a few reasons that Stevenson undertook this journey. For a start, he needed some money, and he wanted to write a book. That was part of the main thing. He just left the woman he was in love with. She was going off to America to try and get a divorce, so he had some time to think about that relationship. He was a bit in turmoil over that. And he wanted to make his mark as a writer, and he thought going on a silly journey with a donkey and then writing a best-selling travel book about it would make him turn him into a great writer and give him the money he needed to have some independence.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
From the valley, the Stevenson Trail ascends to a basalt plateau. The region is renowned for the eponymous green lentils grown here. Stevenson wanted to spend the night beside a lake he'd heard of. The young writer stumbled through the forests of the volcanic massifs until late into the night, but he never found the Lake of Boucher.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's down in this.
It's quite hidden, I think.
Yeah, quite, because it's in like a hole. Yeah, right. Something like that. So
because Stevenson tried to find it, I think. He originally wanted to camp here.
Really?
Yeah, but he got some bad directions from a couple that weren't interested in helping him.
Okay.
So I think he gave up and slept in the village over there. But his plan was to have a nice night's camping in his sleeping bag on the lake. See if we can get it.
Yeah, perfect. So it's connected.
Created 800,000 years ago by a volcanic explosion, the lake is known for its abundance of fish. Didier is kind enough to teach Bradley the fine art of fly fishing.
Ouais. Be careful, okay?
Not okay.
Very, very, only with the arm, okay? And go. Push to. Ouais, yes, good. good. Yeah, it's good.
To do it badly is easy. To do it well is difficult.
This lake is truly special. It's a crater lake, even if it isn't on a mountain. It's not fed by a river, but gets its water from underground springs and rain. That also makes the lake special. A place like this is fabulous for hikers. They like it. Enchanting. That's the charm of the Stevenson Trail. Varied landscape, small magical places.
I don't think there's any fish in this lake anyway.
Oh
That's
no!
no good.
Stop! Stop!
I
Stop!
think I just killed somebody.
That's good. Very fast, that was
Laura and Bradley continue on together for another day. They're heading for the small town of Pradelles. At 1,300 meters above sea level, it's one of the highest lying communities in France. Here, Bradley has to bid Laura farewell. She took 4 days off work and now she has to return. But she plans to meet up again with Bradley in a week and do the last leg of the trail with him. For now, Bradley has to manage on his own. He's lucky that Macumba is such a well-behaved animal. Pradelles is the gateway to the department of Lozère. The area was formerly known as Gevaudan, a notorious name in its day. 250 years ago, a terrible monster terrorized the countryside here.
When Stevenson was passing through here, the beast was just a memory, but for him it was symbolized the beginning of wildness or the promise of some kind of adventure, that somehow there was something dangerous, something might actually happen on this part of the trek. He calls it the Napoleon Bonaparte of wolves. He says he lived for 10 months at free quarters in Gevaudan and Vélay, 8 women and children and shepherdesses, and pursued armed horsemen in broad noonday. I think it could even have been the inspiration for later, novels that he wrote. The Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, women being murdered in back streets. I mean, this could easily have come from something that was in the back of his mind when he heard about the Beast of Gévaudan.
The beast is not a myth. It really did exist. But was it a dog, a wolf, a werewolf? Bradley has an appointment with Manuel Atman, an expert on the Beast of Gévaudan.
Forêt de Mercoire, if you're still interested in the walk.
Yes,
Yeah?
I'm okay for
Sounds
that.
good. You get the bag, I'll get the donkey.
From here, the trail leads into the woods of Mercoire. Manuel's decided to join Bradley for some of the way.
So it's the landscape where the beast was most active?
At the beginning, it's in this direction, and after the beast travel on this landscape, in this area, and at the finish, the beast was killed there in the big mountains in front of us,
The Stevenson Trail goes past the Nosac Reservoir, through the town of Langogne, and into the woods of Mercoire, where the beast's siege of terror was particularly bloody.
The beast was like a dark spirit, always everywhere. It was a monster with powers bigger than a wolf.
I heard killed almost 100 people.
Not exactly 75 people, sure. Maybe 120.
All attempts to hunt down the beast failed, until June the 29th, 1767.
12 hommes se sont placés au pied d'un marais où la bête...
2 men lay in wait for the beast in a bog close to the village it had terrorized. The man with more experience, Jean Chastel, shot it. The bullet went through his shoulder and neck.
And they killed him, was that the end of the story? Did the killing stop then?
Yes, everything stopped, nothing after. And people was too happy.
Yeah, this is where I have to say goodbye to Manuel. I've got the next 5 kilometers or so by myself through this wolf-infested forest, but I'm sure I'll be fine. I've got my donkey to look after me, so I'll be good. Well, we have to say goodbye now. Time to go, yeah?
Yeah, have a good trip.
Thank you very much.
Have a good luck.
Yeah, and have a safe return walk.
With this wolf.
To this very day, it's still not known whether the Beast of Gévaudan was a wolf, a dog, or a hybrid of the two. Robert Louis Stevenson didn't hike due south, but strayed from the path as he pleased. In 1878, when he wandered past Château de Luc, it was just being converted into a chapel. From here, it isn't far to the monastery of Notre-Dame des Neiges, or Our Lady of the Snows. Like Stevenson, Bradley wants to take a break here. He's been on the road for 6 days and has a little less than half the way behind him.
This is the end of line for Mokumba. I'm sad to see her go. She's been delightful to travel with, but I'm going to be happy to walk at my own pace again. Bonjour Christian.
Salut.
Ça va?
Hello.
Still alive?
Ouais, ça a l'air. Comment ça va, ma bien?
Everything okay?
Seems to be.
Good, yeah?
Okay. Good. You take care of it. Okay, Makumba.
Robert Louis Stevenson actually went quite a bit further than I'm going. He sold her for half of what he bought her for, which was quite a good deal. And in the end, he missed her. He was, he spends half the book moaning about Modestine and poking fun at her. But in the end, I think he really missed her, and he shed a tear as the book ends. So somehow these animals, they're stubborn, but they get into your hearts. Merci beaucoup. Adieu, copain. Be safe.
Allez, Makumba, à la maison.
Notre-Dame des Neiges is a Trappist monastery and offers shelter to pilgrims and travellers. Trappists are a branch of the Cistercians. A dozen monks live here in seclusion and asceticism. Bradley learns from Père Hugues, the abbot of the monastery.
La vie quotidienne dans un monastère de Trappistes.
Life in a Trappist monastery is very simple and focused on seeking God. We hear His words in an environment of silence. That's most characteristic of us.
Dans un climat de silence, c'est ce qui nous caractérise le plus.
Robert Louis Stevenson wrote in detail about the monastery. As a Protestant, he was skeptical about the Catholic order, but he was nevertheless impressed by the spirituality of the place.
Moi, je suis très heureux qu'un homme qui n'est pas venu ici.
I'm happy that a man, not even a Catholic but a free thinker, now leads people here who are also not very religious. We're happy about all hikers that stop here. We owe Robert Louis Stevenson our sincere thanks.
On remercie beaucoup Louis Stevenson.
One of the longest stretches of the trail leads across the Massifs of Lozère. Bradley has now reached the highest point of the Stevenson Trail.
across this pass, the light seems to change, the mountains change. It's much more of an open landscape. You see the open rolling hills, the various ridgelines of the Cevennes. It feels much more like the south of France. The air gets a bit warmer. It feels open, a little bit brighter. You know, it's definitely a, you know, with watersheds and mountain ranges, they always divide very different landscapes, and this is no exception.
Here, the weather can change within minutes. Mont Lozère is soon covered by thick layers of clouds. For days now, the herds have been underway on the Dray, the traditional routes used for the seasonal migration of the local livestock. Before they continue on their way, shepherds Jean-Paul Hébrard and René Ure share a farewell lunch with friends and family.
There used to be many more herds underway. Now there aren't many of us left. Today I'm the only one on this drover's road, but there used to be 7 or 8 herds a day. Nowadays, a herd a year.
After the lunch, the shepherds are leaving for the mountains, where they'll stay for the next 4 months. Only a few shepherds still drive their animals from the winter pastures to the summer ones. The weather is getting worse and worse. Jean-Paul has invited Bradley to spend the night at the sheep farm. The next morning, the sun rises above the sheep farm, where the shepherds will be spending the summer.
We always use a specific area and divide the pastures fairly. We're here all summer, so we use one area after the other. Each night, we herd the animals back into the pen where they spend the night.
That there are fewer and fewer sheep each year has a direct consequence on the nature here.
The gorse comes first, then trees, and finally the forest. Then you can no longer get through. As soon as a pasture is no longer used, in a few years it's completely overgrown.
Under Napoleon, the paths were widened so as to help prevent the spread of forest fires.
The shepherds' paths used to always be passable, for many people had sheep and the paths had to be kept open. Now they're disappearing.
Or they become streets or hiking trails.
That's how I came across the paths here. The Stevenson Trail connects with a couple of these dray. And that's really the joy of hiking in Europe. You're always following in ancient paths, whether it's trade routes or pilgrimage routes or migration routes, invasions. There's always centuries of people walking where you've walked.
From Mont Lozère, the Stevenson Trail follows a broad valley. From here onwards, it goes through the Cevennes National Park. The nice thing about hiking is you meet people and strike up conversations. The beehives of Yves Illy are located right next to the trail. Yves raises Cevennes black bees, Apis mellifera mellifera, a subspecies of the European honeybee. It has survived in this area of southern France since the Ice Age.
Les abeilles noires sont réfugiées dans le midi de la France.
The black bees fled the encroaching northern glaciers and came to southern Europe, including southern France. The more resilient bees survived and reproduced, and the black bees are the result. As the climate normalized, they spread across all of Europe. They've been giving Europeans honey for thousands of years. They are the European bee par excellence.
C'est l'abeille européenne par excellence. Stevenson, il est passé là. Oui, juste en dessus.
In the Cevennes, the bees used to be kept in hollowed-out chestnut tree trunks.
No bees?
No.
Today there aren't any bees in there, but you can see how it works. Here's where the bees normally make their honeycombs, and here's the entrance.
Oui, la rentrée est là, oui.
Yves lives in Pont-de-Montvert, a small village on the upper reaches of the Tarn River. Yves is a co-founder of an association that wants to reintroduce the use of tree trunks as beehives. He hollows out new hives in front of his house. Bradley wants to know why chestnut wood in particular is used.
Look, here's a piece of chestnut wood. When it's dead, it becomes as hard as stone. It preserves naturally.
And how long does it take to carve such a beehive?
One day. But then the beehive will last for 300 years, so it's quite economical. With beehives like this, you work more quietly, you need more time, and you get less honey. If the beekeeper sells the honey directly, he can live from it. You just have to break a little bit out of the normal scheme of things.
De sortir un peu des schémas habituels, quoi. Alors on a le miel des abeilles pour faire l'alcool. Pour boire un coup.
Yves also collects pollen and makes mead from honey. Mead, a lightly alcoholic drink, can be enjoyed warm in the winter and cold in the summer. It's been used since olden days to fight illnesses and strengthen the immune system. Pont-de-Montvert, on the upper reaches of the Tarn River, is a place of history. Here, the War of the Camisards began. Instead of uniforms, the Protestant Huguenots wore simple shirts, called in French chemise. This evolved into the name Camisards. They fought for freedom of religion.
The War of the Camisards was really a major theme of Stevenson's book and probably the main reason he came to this part of France. And this was a defining point for him on his trip. This is where the War of the Camisards kicked off, so this was a very symbolic place for Stevenson. This is where the Abbé de Duchela, he lived here and he'd been torturing and holding Protestants down in the basement. And one night, a group of 52 Protestants stormed the building, forced him up to the rooftop. He tried to escape down some knotted sheets out the back window, fell, broke his leg. They got him, they dragged him back to the market square, and then each of the 52 Camisards slowly came up, stabbed him once and said, "This is for my brother, this is for my father," and killed him there on the spot. And that was the beginning of the War of the Camisards.
By the end of the war in 1705, the region had been severely depopulated. Even today, the Cevennes Mountains remains one of the most sparsely populated regions of France. Robert Louis Stevenson followed the course of the Tarn River. However, since a road now runs along it, the hiking trail has been rerouted over a high plateau. Along the way, Château de Grisac, a castle from the 13th century. Bradley's in luck. The lord of the castle is at home today. He gives Bradley a private tour of his manor and shows him the corresponding landholdings. From the town of Florac, the Stevenson Trail once again returns to the original route taken by the Scottish author. Many hikers spend the night in Florac, but Bradley wants to continue on his way. On the banks of the Tarnon, a tributary of the Tarn River, Bradley meets Christophe. Christophe is opening a small sluice to redirect some water.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're welcome. So this water is going all the way down to the mill? Yeah. Wow. Now it's done.
300 meters downriver is Christophe's mill. Bradley is curious. You don't get to see an old water mill every day, and as long as the water supply is closed, you can get up close to the old paddle wheel. Meanwhile, up above, Christophe Borelli is preparing to do some grinding. The mechanisms are made of stone and wood. The millstones are never turned without grain. The water supply is opened only after Bradley has poured the grain onto the millstone.
It's an on and off switch from 500 years ago. It's like the switch.
Yeah, it's different.
The oldest document is from 1642. It mentions 2 mills on the ruins of an even older mill. The mill's been in our family for 6 generations. We want to try to keep it a bit longer.
If you buy in a supermarket, it tastes different?
Yeah. It's better because
of
it's
the
my
stuff?
meal.
Well, you don't always taste better.
No, it's different.
Because of the stone?
Sur la qualité de mouture, il est évident que les meules à pierre apportent.
Stone-milled flour has a special texture which interests bakers and even housewives. It's much easier to handle than common flour.
Même les ménagères C'est une farine pardon, qui se travaille beaucoup plus facilement que d'autres.
No electricity, no petrol. No. Ecologically very friendly.
Only water.
Only hydropower.
I take the water and I give the
it
water.
Back, yeah?
The final stretches of the Stevenson Trail go through the Cevennes National Park, which is one of the oldest protected areas in Europe. A park in which the protection of nature and the productivity of man are not mutually exclusive. There are small hamlets and farmsteads in the park, and agriculture is permitted. But since neither the land nor livestock produce enough to feed the local farmers, some farms also offer bed and board to hikers. In Stevenson's day, the simple inns along the way were rare and far apart. He often slept under the stars. Bradley, however, has booked a bed at Ferme Laborie. The goats are milked twice a day. The unpasteurized goat's milk is used to make Péladon, a traditional and well-known cheese from Cevennes. A couple of years ago, Jean-Christophe Barthez bought and restored the farm. It now specializes in organic products. Jean-Christophe makes the cheese himself. Guests are always welcome, and they can either watch or lend a helping hand.
Faut le gaver.
Nice.
Yes, nice, sweet. From caramel.
No caramel, milk. Don't smell nothing.
Don't smell it.
No smelling.
Good idea. Yeah, don't smell it, just eat it. The line between tourists and workers is kind of blurred. So you come here and you kind of get really involved hands-on in the production of cheese. It makes it so much more special when you take some cheese back that you've nice and organic, it's environmentally friendly, it revives local customs and crafts, and tourists have a great time, they get a good place to stay. Everyone's a winner, I think.
Aside from Péladon, Jean-Christophe also produces Tom, a mountain cheese.
I'm turning the loaves because they have to breathe on both sides, here on the chestnut boards. Also, they shouldn't stick. It isn't easy to always make the tome the same, but we don't worry about that. We like it when each series is distinct and has a slightly different taste. We use about 700 liters of milk a day to make about 30 to 40 tomes. Each shelf here is a day's production. They ripen for 3 to 4 months in this cave.
The hiking guests and family eat together in the evening, and for the last course, the in-house homemade cheese is served. The Stevenson Trail continues through the Cevennes. From Mimont Valley, it passes some castle ruins before climbing to the Plan de Font-Maur, high above the Vallée des Françaises. Bradley's meeting someone here. National Park Ranger Dominique Foubert is going to accompany Bradley for a while. Here, the Stevenson Trail follows an old, so-called royal road. In the 17th century, elaborate roads were built in the Cevennes. They were used primarily to move military troops. In some places, the roads are still in excellent condition, fully paved and with gutters to redirect rainwater. One of the most beautiful sections of the Stevenson Trail, it runs along the ridge and offers regular, unobstructed views of the Cévennes National Park.
In the old days, the Cevennes National Park was densely settled, and even today a lot of people still live within park limits, at least in comparison to other French national parks. So what's special is that the park combines conservation and human activity. It was founded on this basis, and hopefully it'll continue in that direction.
Right here, in 1878, the Scottish writer jotted down some notes.
Stevenson talks about a rough and rocky path, which is still correct. He talks about the wildest view he had on his entire trip from the pass up here, which is also correct. And he talks about the fact that this is a major watershed that he just crossed. All the water on this side goes down to the Mediterranean down there, and on this side of the hill, all the water goes down into the Garonne River and then onto the Atlantic. So another major point on his trip, I think.
The village of Saint-Germain-de-Calbert. Laura Léotin arrived here early this morning. She's buying some provisions for the final leg of the Stevenson Trail. For the last 20 kilometers, Laura and Bradley will walk together again. The Cevennes slowly taper down towards the south. Laura knows a great place for a picnic at the side of the Gardin de Sainte-Croix River.
I mean, the Stevenson book, it's not a guidebook. If you travel with it just as an inspiring piece of travel literature, then it's a great companion. You can still find a lot of the taverns, the auberges, the gîtes that he stays in. You can still get that kind of feeling through the villages, through the history, the change in landscapes. A lot of that is absolutely still valid.
On the
Stevenson Trail, hikers pass different areas and meet different people. That's exciting. And the trail is also somewhat physically demanding. In short, I think the Stevenson Trail is getting more popular every year.
Yeah, it feels like the Mediterranean is within striking distance. You can almost smell it from here. It's nice to make that transition over the mountains. Can't be far to go now. I think it's just a few hours walk, and then at the end of the Stevenson Trail.
After 220 kilometers of walking, the final destination, Saint-Jean-du-Gard, a small town on the Gevaudan River. Robert Louis Stevenson was on the trail for 12 days. On the 3rd of October 1878, he walked across this old stone bridge. And who knows, perhaps he too ended his hike on a sycamore-shaded square like this one.
For me, there's always a mixture of emotions at the end of a trip. It's part relief, part sadness that the hiking is over. But for me, with my research, the hard work really starts here. It's when you sit down at the desk and write up your notes, and that's what Stevenson would have done as soon as he got home. And for him, this kick-started his literary career. So I think for Stevenson, the trail was like one of his books. It's a happy ending.
In June 1879, Robert Louis Stevenson published a travelogue about his hike across the Cevennes. 100 years later, a trail was inaugurated that follows his footsteps and carries his name.